Hello, everyone, and thank you, Celeste, for that lovely introduction. I'm so excited to be here today to talk with you about aging skin. I'm sure for many of us, treatments focused on addressing an aging skin are a large part of what we do on a daily basis. As a more mature skin myself, I've definitely experienced many of the changes that we are going to talk about. So today we're really going to take a look at what defines an aging skin, the biochemical changes that occur, and the factors that influence those changes, and then discuss some of the ingredient solutions and treatment techniques we can incorporate to deliver a treatment with a wow factor. Many of you may be experts in treating an aging skin, and this will be a refresher for you, while for others of you, this may all be new. So in any case, I hope at the end of our time together today, you'll leave with a broader understanding of what defines an aging skin and how you can not only deliver a treatment with visible results, but also educate your clients on some lifestyle and product choices to help them maintain those results. So let's get started. Before we dive in, I think one of the most important things to do is to define an aging skin. So if I was to pose the question to you, what is an aging skin? What does it look like to you? I'm sure we'd all have different answers. So why don't you go ahead and drop into the chat box what you think is an aging skin, how it appears. So go ahead and jump into the chat box and let me know how you would define an aging skin. So we see there loss of elasticity, wrinkles, hyperpigmentation, dull lines, dullness, fine lines, absolutely, rough texture, drier, thinner skin, sagging, dehydration. So it's all of this, right? So pigmentation, brown spots as our clients may call them, dullness, dehydration, sensitivity, breakouts, uneven tone, fine lines, deep lines. I mean, the list just goes on, right? Skin that is lackluster, devitalized, sagging, losing firmness. As you can see, not only by your answers, which are still coming in there, but if we were to pose this question just generally even to our clients, we would get a variety of answers, and none of them are wrong. So the topic is broad and varied, and the definition in large part is going to be defined by the client rather than by us. And this is where it gets tricky because it's hard to have just one defined age management treatment that's going to meet all of these expectations or concerns that our clients identify as aging. The most important point is to find out from your client what an aging skin means to them. A thorough consultation is going to help us to determine what their specific concerns with aging are, and if there are multiple concerns, begin to really prioritize them. We can't deliver that wow factor treatment if we're not on the same page with our clients in terms of what they're hoping to achieve. So when we think about aging, really we have two categories of aging. We know that aging is inevitable, but its effects on the skin can be minimized and in some cases prevented. Skin aging, as I said, is divided into these two categories, intrinsic and exposome-driven aging. So when we think about intrinsic aging, this is otherwise known as our chronological aging, natural aging, genetic aging. It's determined by our genes. Our skin is going to start to deteriorate as cell metabolism and reproduction naturally slow. Our hormones also influence skin function, and women in particular notice age-related skin changes in their menopausal years. Estrogen is involved with collagen synthesis, and as that estrogen level drops, we start to really see those changes in the skin. Overall, our skin becomes thinner and more delicate as we age, and some of the signs of that intrinsic aging are fine lines due to that diminished production of collagen, and this is where people come in and they're talking about crow's feet or maybe starting to see some signs of aging in the forehead or on some other sun-exposed areas, maybe the top of the cheekbones. We start to see more thin and transparent skin as the top layers lose more moisture due to the aging process. We have a loss of underlying fat and dermal volume, and this leads to a hollowed appearance in the cheeks and the eye sockets, as well as a loss of firmness on the hands and through the neck area. We might just see some abnormal blood vessels, those dilated capillaries, and these develop over the nose and the cheeks as the body tries to supply nutrients to the skin. Bones actually lose volume as we age, and they shrink away from the skin, which contributes to some of the sagging that we see. And then we have that dry skin that occurs as a result of having less moisture, less sebum, less lipids. That gives us that rough texture. We might also start to experience some itching due to the impaired barrier function. When we think about our exposome, this is our environment and lifestyle, and we look at those in combination, and they greatly contribute to accelerated skin aging. Studies have suggested that our exposome has a profound effect on our genetic expression and significantly how our body and skin age. So when we think about that genetic expression, that's known as epigenetics. So our DNA provides instructions to our cells, and epigenetics affect how those genes are read by the cells. So genes can be switched on and off, expressed or not expressed. What you eat, where you live, when you sleep, your stress levels, all of these factors can cause chemical modifications around the genes that will turn them on or off over time. Our research is suggesting that 50% of the visible signs of aging come from our exposome, not just our genes as people had previously thought. So let's discuss what our exposome includes. As you can see here looking at this, our exposome includes many different factors. They can be healthy or unhealthy, depending on how we engage. A chronically unhealthy exposome is what accelerates the skin aging beyond what our DNA alone would do. For many people, the heightened stress, lack of sleep, and overprocessed food and environmental conditions are having more negative effects on the skin than ever before. So as we start to look at some of these factors, I think we're all aware of the impact of the sun. We know that the sun is probably one of the key drivers of the aging process as it accelerates a lot of what's happening. And we frequently see a lot of signs of aging as a result of sun exposure. We call that photo damage. But we also know that tobacco and cigarette smoking has long been associated with the breakdown of collagen and elastin fibers in the skin, and this results in the signs of premature aging as well. We know that cigarette smoke reduces the facial blood flow in smokers, which deprives the skin of oxygen and ultimately nutrients. This results in skin discoloration, deep wrinkling, premature skin aging, and poor wound healing. Nicotine in cigarettes actually causes vasoconstriction, which dramatically reduces the amount of oxygen that's able to pass through the skin. And that's when we start to see those telangiectasias, or those broken or dilated capillaries, those small dilated blood vessels near the skin surface. And they're so characteristic of a smoker's skin. They're a result of the body attempting to get more blood to the skin by producing more vessels. So the exposure to pollutants in cigarettes accelerates what we call matrix metalloproteinases, or MMPs. And so I'm going to go ahead and talk about that shortly. Those MMPs, though, cause the breakdown of collagen and elastin, which leads to wrinkling and laxity. When we think about temperature, we know that low temperatures and low humidity leads to a reduced barrier function. The skin becomes dry and irritated, and that's where we start to see some itchiness. We see this with seasonal winter skin, where the skin experiences fluctuations from that really cold external temperature to very warm, centrally heated environments indoors. And I know many of you may be starting to experience that now. I know here in Florida, we've just had our first real cool snap, and I'm experiencing a little bit of dehydration in my skin due to that. Nutrition is a big one too. We've known that a healthy diet contributes to healthy skin. And while the occasional pizza or fast food won't affect the skin, a chronically unbalanced diet is definitely sure to impact the skin. And one particular source when we think about nutrition and having an impact on the skin is sugar. And we're going to talk about the impact of sugar on the skin. As we move around and think about stress, while the exact mechanism of stress and its impact on skin aging isn't fully understood, we do know that emotional and physical stress can induce a nerve response that results in skin itchiness and the inhibition of wound healing, along with aggravated inflammation. And we know that inflammation can drive the aging process. Repeated short-term stress can induce reactive oxygen species production. And reactive oxygen species, along with matrix metalloproteinases, I'm going to talk about in just the next slide. So what we know about stress is that when we're under stress, our bodies produce cortisol. And high levels of cortisol accelerates the aging process because cortisol causes collagen and elastin to break down, leading to that accelerated aging. We know that chronic and perceived stress also contribute to cellular aging. So sometimes it's not the amount of stress you're under, but your perception of that stress and how it affects you. Psychological stress was also linked to oxidative stress, which is tied directly to those reactive oxygen species. Sleep, as you can imagine, is a factor as well. And sleep problems affect the health and quality of life for up to 45% of the world's population. The Better Sleep Council has told us that 85% of American adults say that they have problems sleeping at night. And just a few nights of missed sleep can lead to dull skin and fine lines, while continued sleep insufficiency can lead to dark circles, puffy eyes, sallow skin, and early aging. If we also continue along that path of insufficient sleep, we can get excess cortisol to be released into the body, resulting again in that collagen breakdown. The most important thing when we think about the impact of sleep on our skin is that skin regeneration is a nighttime activity, and the natural skin renewal process when we're not sleeping is impaired. And as a result of that, our skin can look 2.5 years older or 2.5 years older if we're not sleeping well. So getting a good night's sleep is definitely crucial to good skin health. Air pollution, much like UV radiation, is a largely invisible threat. However, its impact on the skin is highly visible. Recent studies are showing a correlation between exposure to pollutants in the air and aging. And the signs of premature aging from pollution range from hyperpigmentation and fine lines to increased sensitivity. Cumulatively, these effects on the skin can make the skin look and feel older than it really is. Clients may not even realize that air pollution exists everywhere. They may think that it's just isolated to busy urban cities where there's a lot of traffic fumes and a lot of mass transit, lots of people in small areas. But they need to understand that air pollution is prevalent even in the countryside. So sometimes we have agricultural areas, there's chemicals associated with agro-farming. So it's really important that we educate our clients to shield their skin from the effects of pollution, no matter where you're located. So we've talked about the exposome factors, but let's look at how these exposome factors cause biological changes in the skin. So when we think about understanding aging, the cosmetic changes that we're seeing are the result of changes to the biological structure and function of the skin. And three biochemical triggers that occur in the skin that break it down are reactive oxygen species, and these are also known as free radicals, matrix metalloproteinases, and advanced glycation end products. Now, I know some of those may be bigger words, matrix metalloproteinase or reactive oxygen species. And we may have a basic understanding of them, but it's really important to be able to break it down to something that's a little bit more simplistic so that we can explain it and educate our clients. So let's start off with looking at reactive oxygen species. So reactive oxygen species are commonly known as free radicals. And if we think back to our basic science, and for some of you, that might be a while ago, for some of you, it may be more recent, but we remember that all cells have neutrons, protons, and electrons. And those electrons like to travel in pairs. And a free radical occurs when that electron pair becomes unpaired. And so when that electron gets unpaired, it becomes unstable. It's generally a very small molecule and it's very reactive due to the presence. Our skin gets reactive due to the presence of these unpaired electrons. And what they're doing is they're scavenging, trying to relink. So where do these free radicals or these reactive oxygen species come from? Well, our bodies generate free radicals as part of our metabolic processes. But when we're under environmental stress, then reactive oxygen species can increase dramatically, and they cause significant damage to our cellular structure. And that is what we know as oxidative stress. So free radicals can also be generated from our exposome factors. So some of the key exposome factors that really contribute to an increase in ROSs is sunlight, smog, smoke pollution, stress, and food. Unfortunately, as we age, free radical damage accumulates or builds up. And although we can naturally defend against these reactive oxygen species, our lifestyle can lead the body's load of ROSs to become too high. And in time, we become less able to neutralize them, and their effect on the cell structures becomes more pronounced. When this happens, it's because the naturally occurring antioxidants are either in short supply or the free radical damage is excessive due to that increased reactive oxygen species load. As damage to the cells and tissues occurs, what we start to see on the skin is superficial lines, wrinkles, hyperpigmentation, rashes, and inflammation. On a subcellular level, this may cause cross-linking of our collagen and elastin, damage to the DNA, which contains all of that genetic coding, and tissue degradation. So this altered structure leads to an altered function and a less efficient process. While antioxidants can effectively scavenge reactive oxygen species, the skin is often the last to get its ration of antioxidants, and that's where the use of topically applied products comes into play. So using antioxidants topically helps to prevent future damage by trapping reactive oxygen species and quenching them before they can damage our cells. So let's move on and take a look at that second biochemical trigger, matrix metalloproteinases. So matrix metalloproteinases are enzymes, and when they get activated, they break down the skin's dermal support structure. So each MMP is specific for a particular collagen or protein in the skin. So some examples of matrix metalloproteinases are collagenase, elastase, and hyaluronidase. And I'm sure you can guess by their names what they're impacting, right? Collagen, elastin, and hyaluronic acid. So MMPs are naturally present in the skin and they control the matrix degradation in the dermis. What that basically means is they get rid of old collagen and elastin so that it can be replaced by new. MMP activity is highly controlled at different levels. Our cells don't generally maintain a pool of MMPs, but they rely on formation on an as-needed basis. In addition to being naturally present, MMPs are also triggered, though, by UV and inflammatory modulators. And when we get those additional triggers, then we end up with MMPs that are accelerated and aren't being generated on an as-needed basis. And that's why when we think about inflammatory skin disorders like eczema, we can see that the skin sometimes looks more aged than it chronologically is. We also know that within hours of UV exposure, the MMP genes get activated. And because collagenase degrades collagen and inhibits the formation of new collagen, long-term elevation of MMPs results in a disorganized and clumped collagen, which is a key characteristic of photoaged skin. So when we're out in the sun, we're accelerating that process. We're kind of kicking it into overdrive rather than let it play out on its intrinsically scheduled cycle. So we need to look to some ingredient solutions. So skin strengthening peptides and retinoids help to boost elasticity, promote skin firmness, boost collagen biosynthesis, and help reduce fine lines and wrinkles. Other ingredients such as glucosamine can act as anti-enzymes and also inhibit MMP activity. Retinoids, including vitamin A, are not only recommended for reversing some of the early signs of photoaging, but for preventing them as well. And we're going to talk a little bit more about those key ingredients towards the end of our time together. So the third biochemical factor is the formation of ages. And this occurs through an internal chemical reaction within the body called glycation. So advanced glycation end products are toxic byproducts resulting from the interaction between sugar and protein that causes deterioration of the skin. So that same sugar or glucose that we get from our diet and that provides energy for our cells can react with the proteins in our skin. So our collagen and elastin proteins are highly susceptible to glycation, resulting in the formation of these advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. This triggers inflammation and sensitivity, inhibits cell regeneration, and triggers more reactive oxygen species. The formation of AGEs also contributes to the cross-linking of protein fibers and loss of elasticity. So our body doesn't possess enzymes that can reverse the reaction or remove AGEs. And controlling AGEs is a newer field of research. And so far, what we found is that the best means of controlling AGEs is to interfere with their formation. So there are some ingredients that have been shown to inhibit glycation from occurring, but exactly how isn't fully understood. We know that glycation is fueled by sugar. So the more sugar you have, the more glycation end products that will occur. Given that, diet is going to play a really large role. So what we found are some key ingredient solutions. Soy and its derivatives are rich in amino acids, and these amino acids help to stimulate elastin and collagen synthesis. Soy isoflavonoids act as anti-glycation agents to fight collagen cross-linking. And we know that the arginine-lysine polypeptide can bind the sugar. And this causes a sugar trap and prevents that sugar from being free to react with proteins and trigger the cross-linking of collagen. So let's switch gears a little and talk a little bit about ingredients. So we've talked about the skin changes that are associated with an aging skin. So we're going to go ahead now and take a look at some of the headline ingredients that generate a lot of conversation among our clients. So we're going to really look at vitamin C, peptides, retinoids, or that vitamin A family, some botanical actives, hyaluronic acid, and niacinamide. So vitamin C is a skincare powerhouse. We know that vitamin C is important for overall health and wellness, but it's also really, really fabulous for the skin. So topical vitamin C is one of the most potent antioxidants that we have available, and it's effective at tackling one of the primary causes of premature aging, those reactive oxygen species. So the use of vitamin C when we think about fighting the effects of ROS is we're going to get a brighter, firmer skin. But that's not all. We said that vitamin C was a powerhouse. And so it can also reduce inflammation. Once we neutralize those reactive oxygen species, we're going to have less inflammation. It can promote collagen production because it's a cofactor in the manufacture of procollagen. And procollagen is the precursor molecule to collagen. And then we can also reduce hyperpigmentation with the antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects of vitamin C. The challenge with vitamin C, though, particularly water-soluble vitamin C, is that the formulas can lose their potency very quickly once opened and even deteriorate. So skincare formulas that use vitamin C need to correctly prepare and package them to maintain or keep the integrity. Many products include stabilized forms of vitamin C. Not only do these stable forms of vitamin C maintain their potency better, but they can time release and penetrate deeper into the skin. So although on the next slide, you're going to see that vitamin C comes in many different forms, they're not all equal. And one of the things that we need to look for when we're researching or looking for vitamin C or talking to our clients about vitamin C is that stability and bioavailability are going to be important factors to consider. So we have listed here just some forms of vitamin C that you may find in your skincare products. And a lot of these are, like I said, vitamin C derivatives. So vitamin C is ascorbic acid or ascorbyl, and it's the chemical name that's generally found on most of the product packages. So just to highlight a couple of what we have here, the first one, ascorbyl methylsilanol pectinate, is a complex. So this is a synergistic complex of ascorbic acid or vitamin C and silicone. And this complex strengthens the cell's resistance to oxidative stress. It can brighten hyperpigmentation and even the skin tone. So those strong antioxidants in there really help to fight that free radical damage. Amino ascorbyl phosphate, the next one that you see there, is a highly stable, non-acidic, next generation form of vitamin C. And this one helps to firm and strengthen the skin. Again, it does have antioxidant protection and it affects melanogenesis by inhibiting tyrosinase. So that means the tyrosine isn't going to get activated and cause our skin to produce more melanin. Ascorbyl palmitate is another stable form. This one's more easily absorbed by the skin and doesn't break down as or degrade as quickly as just ascorbic acid alone. Calcium ascorbate also functions as an antioxidant, and this one is required for collagen production and tissue repair. Magnesium ascorbyl phosphate, also known as MAP, is a form of vitamin C that's also very stable and highly active. So MAP helps to boost collagen synthesis levels to a greater degree than ascorbic acid by itself. We have sodium ascorbyl phosphate, which again, a stable water-soluble form of vitamin C with antioxidant properties, and it's potentially effective for brightening an uneven skin tone. So as you can see, as we talk about these, there's a lot of antioxidant protection and a lot of brightening. Moving on, let's talk about peptides. So peptides have been studied for more than 50 years and are one of the most popular cosmeceutical ingredients in our skincare products now. So peptides are naturally occurring in the body, and like proteins, they're made up of amino acids. When a chain of amino acids is over 100 acids long, we call it a protein. If it contains less than 100 amino acids, it's a peptide. All peptides influence or direct the cells of the body in some way. So different types of peptides influence different types of cells. And because of their influences, they're often referred to as signaling molecules. So when we think about peptides and we think about all the body's processes, you may think that there's a lot of peptides, but there's only a lot of different amino acids forming those peptides, but there's really only 20 different amino acids in the human body. So different peptides and proteins are combined or made up of different combinations and sequences. So how those amino acids are linked together to form the chains, the order that they're made makes up the peptide. If you change the sequence of that linking or the sequence of the amino acids, you're also going to change the function of the protein or the peptide. So the peptides that we use in skincare are synthetic. They're able to enter the cells of the skin and remain intact, and they communicate with and direct our skin cells to behave in a certain way. So peptides can perform a lot of different functions. Generally, when we think about peptides in the skin, the ones when we think about aging skin, the functions are going to be producing or stimulating more collagen, elastin, and hyaluronic acid, really working to reduce melanin formation and to stop the formation of advanced glycation end products or ages. So some of the popular peptides that we have in skincare, and I've kind of categorized them here for you, are those peptides that really focus on boosting collagen, either by protecting it or by stimulating an enhanced production. We also have sugar traps. So that arginine lysine polypeptide that we talked about is a sugar trap that specifically works to help fight the advanced glycation end products. And then we have a couple of peptides that are more specific for controlling melanogenesis, either slowing down the actual production of melanin or interfering with the signal to transfer melanin that's already been made. So peptides have a lot of different functions. They do a lot of different things, but the ones that I've put up here really are the ones that are going to protect against degradation, firm the skin, reduce the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, or really focus in on helping to give us a brighter skin. The next category of ingredients are the ever popular retinoids. So I don't think there's anybody who's involved in the skincare industry now, and even people that may not be product junkies, that haven't heard of retinol, right? So retinoids, when we think about retinol or pure vitamin A, it belongs to a family of compounds called retinoids. So that's their chemical family. And when we're using retinoids for an aging skin, they really help to boost collagen production, increase cellular turnover, and accelerate skin renewal, which improves skin texture and reduces those dark spots or hyperpigmentation. Retinoids, though, can also inhibit the matrix metalloproteinases, one of those biochemical reactions that we talked about that leads to skin aging. So retinoids come in many forms, and regardless of which one you use, it's important to note and to let our clients know that there could be some irritation. So the skin converts all retinoids into retinoic acid. So retinoic acid is the only form of vitamin A that our skin recognizes and responds to or processes. And the more closely related a retinoid is to retinoic acid, the more quickly your skin will utilize it. But they also have a greater risk of irritation. So when we think about that irritation, some of our clients may believe that they can't use any retinol or vitamin A because they're too sensitive, and others may start using it but then discontinue the treatment. So the key to successful use of retinoids is to gradually introduce it and increase usage. So I like to call it, or I refer to it as, starting out low and slow and then grow. So we want to start out with a lower percentage or a lesser form, and then let our skin acclimate using it slowly, maybe less often, and then increase not only the frequency, but if appropriate, the strength of what we're using. So as we look here at some of the forms of vitamin A, retinoic acid, all the way over on the right-hand side, is the only biologically active form of a retinoid. So that's the one the skin recognizes. That means that any other forms that we use have to be converted to retinoic acid for a physiological impact to occur. Retinoic acid is available with a prescription, and it typically comes in forms such as isotretinoin or tretinoin. And this one has the most potential for skin irritation. Retinol is the strongest form that's available without a prescription. While still highly effective, retinol is about 20% weaker than retinoic acid and is slowly converted into retinoic acid by enzymes within our skin. This also means, though, that there's less skin irritation with retinol than there is with retinoic acid. Retinol palmitate, on the other end, is the mildest retinoid. It takes a little bit longer to convert to retinoic acid, and the chances of skin irritation are minimal. But you're still going to get a great result with it. Retinol propionate is a retinoid ester, and that gradually converts to retinoic acid with a mild time release effect. So retinol and your retinol palmitate can deliver similar results to a prescription retinoid, but because the skin has to convert them to that biologically active form of retinoic acid, it takes a little bit longer to get the results. However, there's less potential for irritation, so our clients may be more likely to kind of see it through to get those results. Oh, I love that. A little shout out to Pure Night when we were back on our peptides there. Pure Night, yeah, great product. All right, so looking at our powerful plants. So botanical actives are huge, and we should never really underestimate all the results that we can achieve with our plant extracts. So plants possess natural phytoactives or chemical components that have the ability to impact the structure and health of our skin. Phytoactives are used to address many different skin conditions. So aging is one factor that has a real big impact on the effect of the stratum corneum lipids. So as we age, lipid depletion naturally occurs because lipid production decreases. So additional factors within our exposome, such as seasonal temperature and humidity fluctuations and diet, can also play a role in lipid depletion. So as we have that reduction in ceramides, we get an increase in skin sensitivity or irritability. And when the skin is both dry, lacking oils or lipids, and dehydrated, lacking moisture, it becomes uncomfortable and more vulnerable to damage, sensitivity, and premature signs of skin aging. And when we introduce into the skin phytolipids, they act as a powerful substitute for the skin's own natural lipids. So many plants also offer powerful protective capacity, such as antioxidants, which support and protect the skin from those reactive oxygen species. So just briefly, what we have there up on the screen, starting on the top left side, is that Moroccan rock rose. So this is a potent antioxidant and strong source of flavonoids, and it can neutralize and dramatically reduce not only reactive oxygen species, but also matrix metalloproteinases. Next to it on the right, we have the Sephora japonica flower, and this contains flavonoids that are strong antioxidants, and this one helps to return the skin to a calm state after experiencing oxidative stress. So after we get exposed to reactive and oxygen species and we get that oxidative stress, our skin can get irritated or inflamed, and this will help to calm it. Right in the middle there, and I think kind of right in the middle is appropriate, we have the Camu Camu superfruit. And this is often referred to as the youth berry. Not only is it rich in antioxidants, but it has a whopping 60 times more vitamin C than an orange. So I think that's pretty fabulous. Down there on the bottom right, we have Huang Qi and Paracress. So these are two herbs, and they help to promote fibroblast proliferation. So that sounds like a really big terminology, fibroblast proliferation. But if we think about our can't talk, we think about our fibroblasts. Those are the precursors to our collagen and our elastin. And proliferation just means that we're going to get more of them. So we're going to get more of the things that give us collagen and elastin. So this complex of Huang Qi and Paracress gives an instant tightening effect and continues to improve skin quality by boosting collagen over time. And then in the lower left-hand corner, we have Salvia hispanica or chia seed. And these are rich in antioxidants and moisturizing properties. So they help to fight free radicals, but they also contain 60% omega-3 fatty acids, so one of the highest concentrations of any plant source. And then a couple of shout outs that I want to give but aren't pictured here are argan kernel oil. So this is an oil that's able to rapidly penetrate into the skin without leaving a greasy feel. It's an excellent source of antioxidants and flavonoids that help to inhibit those matrix metalloproteinase enzymes from degrading collagen and elastin. It also helps to protect the skin by reinforcing our barrier lipid layer. And then another shout out for rosehip fruit oil. This is an antioxidant-rich oil that's an excellent source of vitamin C and essential fatty acids, again, to reinforce that barrier lipid layer. So the next ingredient, I think everybody's aware of, kind of like the retinols, but maybe a little bit newer in terms of everybody knowing about it. There's even commercials advertising products with it, right? So hyaluronic acid. So as we age, our body actually produces less hyaluronic acid. So dehydration or feelings of dryness, tightness, and itchiness may start to appear. Not all hyaluronic is the same though, and different types work in different ways. So hyaluronic acid is going to help to prevent dehydration and minimize the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, and hydrated skin is going to be less reactive and not as likely to experience itching or irritation. So we have our standard hyaluronic acid, and we know that that holds 1,000 times its weight in water, and a 2% solution of hyaluronic acid can actually hold the remaining 98% water so tightly, pack it so tightly that it forms a gel. We have cross-linked hyaluronic acid, which is linked chains that form a superhydrating net over the skin that allows for time-released hydration. And cross-linked hyaluronic acid has about 50 times the water binding capability of our standard hyaluronic acid. We also have dual-sized hyaluronic acids. So what we're talking about here are those high-weight and low-weight hyaluronic acids. Your low-weight, when we talk about weights, we're referring to molecular weight. So the low molecular weight hyaluronic acid has been split down into smaller fragments, and these smaller fragments can no longer form a gel with water like the larger molecules, but they can penetrate the skin more easily. The high weight or the larger molecular form has a better hydrating effect than the low molecular form because it forms a film on the surface of the skin and hydrates just across the surface of the skin. But when we're using both types, we're adding hydration through the layers because we've got that lower weight penetrating in and then the high weight sitting on the surface. And then lastly, we have our next generation hyaluronic acid. And this is just a newer hyaluronic acid with an optimized bioavailability, which means that it has better penetration and it can provide a flash filler effect on the skin. I think of the ingredients that we've talked about today, niacinamide is probably the one that is less likely to be associated with an aging skin. So niacinamide is the physiologically active form of niacin or vitamin B3, and it's a very versatile ingredient, and depending on the formulation, has many different benefits. So when we think about niacinamide and we look at when it's been used in the skin, we've seen a significant reduction in fine lines and wrinkles, hyperpigmentation spots, red blotchiness, skin sallowness, and we've seen improved skin elasticity. So when we think about pigmentation, niacinamide decreases melanosome transfer to the keratinocytes by between 2 and 5%. When we think about those ages or that advanced glycation end stages, it's shown to inhibit glycation. When we think about 5% niacinamide in a product, it can inhibit glycation. In terms of barrier properties, it stimulates the synthesis of ceramides in the stratum corneum, helps to reduce transepidermal water loss, and improves that sensitive skin condition. Additionally, niacin helps enzymes function in the body, and we know that many enzymatic functions impact on the skin. So what I'd like to do now is kind of round out our time together and talk about some popular modalities that can supercharge your treatments. So probably one of the most popular modalities is ultrasonic, and this is the use of sound waves. This can be found in a skin scrubber or an ultrasonic blade. It goes by a lot of different names, and the waves can be used at different points within our treatment. When we use an ultrasonic blade or skin scrubber in exfoliation or during deep cleansing, those ultrasonic waves are going to aid in the release of dead surface skin cells, giving a brighter, fresher appearance to the skin. It can also be used later on in the treatment to enhance the penetration of active substances, such as serums or over a mask. LED, or our light emitting diode, is definitely gaining in popularity. I'm sure you've probably had clients inquire about it. So LED is a low energy, non-ablative device that emits an exact wavelength into the skin to stimulate and energize cellular activity. This non-invasive procedure activates cells with light energy, and that energy stimulates those skin cells in a manner similar to photosynthesis. So for an aging skin, treatment with a red LED will generally be used to boost collagen and reduce inflammation. So microcurrent is another popular one, and this can be used in two different ways. The most common use of microcurrent is for muscle re-education, and it's related to that term facial toning, which involves the lengthening and shortening of muscles. So we can use this to aid in lifting and firming the skin. The second use of microcurrent is for specific iontophoresis. So by adjusting the setting on your machine, you can penetrate water-based products into the skin. So specific iontophoresis can be used to target concerns such as aging, pigmentation, or calming the skin. But when we think about supercharging our treatment, non-electrical modalities are also great additions. We can use cold stones or globes. These are wonderful for reducing inflammation. Jade rollers can help with puffiness, and gua sha is excellent for revitalizing a lackluster skin. And although we have many modality options, we must never ever underestimate the power of our hands and the power of touch. Remember, not all of our clients are high tech. Some are high touch. And some of our clients may actually be electrophobes or a little concerned or anxious about the use of electrical modalities. I think now more than ever, many of our clients will value the power of connection and the relaxation that we can build through our touch. So I'd like to thank you all so much for tuning in and spending this time with us this morning. I hope that you've picked up a tip or two for working with an aging skin and feel more confident as you head back into your treatment spaces. The information today hopefully will assist you not only in designing those wow factor treatments, but also help you to educate your clients on managing their aging skin. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it back to Celeste, and I think we probably have some questions.
Thank you so much, Sharon. And I'm so glad that you kind of wrapped it up with the fact of modalities to power it up, and then really, you know, human connection. And especially with the kind of the climate that's happening right now, I think a lot of people are missing it. And I think that it really does just is such an amazing part of our industry that we truly get to touch people all day, right? All day, and it's like this great energy, and it's so fulfilling. And just love that you kind of wrapped it all up in a beautiful bow of how it really does. It really does support great skincare. So thank you so much, Sharon, for all of that knowledge. It was jam-packed. There's just, I mean, I've been in this industry for over 15 years and there's still so much to learn. So you really did such an amazing job of breaking it down. And this is just a nugget of the information. So thank you again for that. Let's see if we have questions. I didn't see any in the Q&A, but that doesn't mean there is none. I know a lot of people were just really excited. I know someone said they actually learned new information on hyaluronic acid, which we know has been, you know, kind of the talk of the town for a while, but I think that people don't truly realize how much of a powerhouse that is. So glad you brought that one up. Let's see if we have anything else. Margaret has a question. Can you layer retinol with vitamin C?
You could, but I think that if you're going to use vitamin C, so remember, retinol is going to be a nighttime product. We want to use that in the evening. And vitamin C has a lot of protective capacity. So if you want to use your vitamin C twice a day, you could layer it with retinol, but I think you're going to get a much better result if you make sure you're using your vitamin C in the morning for its protective capacity, fighting those antioxidants, and then using your retinol at night to help stimulate regeneration. Think about the function of those two ingredients and where they're best going to meet the needs of the skin.
Right. And then another question is, what's a good way to tell clients our vitamin C is better and more effective? So like truly understanding that there's different forms of vitamin C and that, you know, some products or ingredients actually have more efficacy.
So it's not so much about the percentage of vitamin C that's found in a product, because you can have a really high percentage of vitamin C, but if it's not a stable vitamin C, you might get the punch from it for a very short time. But once that bottle's opened, it's going to lose its potency. So what's more important is to have something that's maintained its stability and is bioavailable. And what we mean by bioavailability is literally, like the name says, being available for the skin to utilize. So having this, you know, high percentage vitamin C doesn't really mean anything if it's not available for the skin to utilize. If you put it on the skin, it's not able to penetrate and get in, and we're just losing it to the air. So stability and bioavailability. So educating them that not all vitamin C is alike, and the highest percentage isn't going to be the most effective.
Right. And I think that is a kind of a misunderstanding out in the industry. So glad that we have something a little bit more solid to say. We did have someone ask, and I think it's kind of for everybody, but wanted to ask you too, Sharon, is everyone else doing more masks due to COVID stress, like bad comfort foods, lack of exercise, so that you feel like you're actually doing more of that masking and everything else on top of your treatment? So I know, Sharon, you do treatments still as well. Do you feel like you're doing more masks and everything?
I'm seeing a lot more maskne, because as people are starting to get out and about and having to wear their mask because of the mask mandates here that we have in place, people are starting, you know, the humidity and the moisture, they're starting to get some breakouts around those mask areas, or some people are starting to experience a little bit of sensitivity from having the mask against their skin all the time. And I think that the masking that we're doing are the masks really designed to address the breakouts, or masks to increase hydration and calm and soothe the skin. So I think our clients are looking for some products that they maybe don't have in their skincare arsenal to address these new concerns that are coming up. So yeah, COVID's definitely had an impact on what people are doing to their skin.
Very true. Thank you so much, Sharon, again. Everyone, you can find this on dermalinstitute.com in about a day or so. And I know some people were saying this is a jam-packed session, so they're definitely going to be rewatching it. just to make sure they get everything. And then as always, we have the Skin Series Aging Skin class or course that you can take. We have a streaming version that is hosted by the Los Angeles location. And then once we're back in person, we do offer these in Chicago, New York, and LA. So thank you again, Sharon. We really appreciate your time as always. And we look forward to seeing everybody once again. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great day. Thanks again, Sharon.
Bye. Thank you.